I have a question for everyone. Does anyone know where hoop dancing originated from? Well, to be honest, when I first started, I didn't know where it was originally done. And I have this old, he's probably 95, Native American customer, and he comes and like drops me words of wisdom all the time. And we actually bonded over him being a hoop dancer. It's something that they do at powwows, and it's just kind of like a ritualistic thing that they do. They look at it as never ending. It's an infinite circle. There's no beginning and there's no end, which is a really cool way to look at it. But he actually professionally dances, like competitively dances. He is 95 now, so he has a bad knee, so he doesn't do it anymore. But we're gonna go check out the powwow and see what it's all about. The Native American community have a very good outlook on life and just how everything works, you know. If you're familiar with an arrowhead, it's like made out of a rock or stone. They chip away at it until it's sharp enough to use as a weapon. And you find them all over the place, like in the ground, like, you know, people just out in the woods and stuff. And I always wondered, like, why are there so many of them out here? Well, the reason why there's so many arrowheads out just in the open is because once they made a kill with the arrow, then they would just leave it there because it's done its job, which I was like, that's so cool. He also told me that they like to give more than you take. That has to do with like the land, you know. If say you have to cut down a tree because it's messing up something on your house, or you know, the roots are a problem, then you want to plant 2 trees. You want to give more than you take from the land, which is a very good motto. Our land is over processed, you know, like agriculture eventually starts to deteriorate the land instead of making it healthier. I watched a documentary on regenerative agriculture, and instead of like plowing it down to the dirt, they plant it in its natural setting. So you don't have to get special machinery. You don't have to reduce the land down to dirt where it can erode, and then you get natural, you know, things like bugs and insects. You get life around the food. He literally stood in the middle of a field. It was like one that was totally plowed. He was like, can you hear that? Nothing. There's nothing alive here. And so then he went to a field where there was grass and stuff, and he was like, do you hear that? He was like, this land is alive right here. And I was like, wow, that makes total sense. I don't know what the documentary was on. It was either on Hulu or Netflix, but I thought that was just such a cool concept, to instead of taking away from the land, just to add to it. My parents have a neighbor, and they have their own goats, they have their own chickens, they cultivate bees, and he does it all in the natural land. He's not doing it where he's plowing and getting it down to the dirt and it's eroding. His yard looks like, honestly, kind of a little mess. It's an overgrown yard, but that's the smart thing to do, you know. They talk about carbon emissions and all this stuff, but you want to take care of the physical earth first, you know. Like, if the earth isn't alive, then that's not good for the whole atmosphere. So I think we might just have the wrong perspective on it, you know. You want to, like I said, like the Native Americans, you want to give more than you take. And that's just in, you know, regular life too. you always want to be giving, you want to help when you can. He had a cool story that he told me. It was a rainy day, and he asked the lady, he's like, how's your day going? And she was like, oh, it was terrible, it's raining. And he's like, well, you got up to see the rain, right? And she was like, yeah. And he's like, well, some people aren't that lucky. And it's really true. It's all about perspective. It's all about the way that you look at things. Me and my husband, for instance, we live the exact same life, pretty much minus work. And he is much happier than me. He just has a better perspective on life. He's grateful for the small things. And that's what he was trying to explain to the lady, that life is not always perfect, but you're blessed with another day. So it really is all about perspective. You can change your whole life just about your mindset, with your mindset. So anyway, it was a rainy day. He had his granddaughters come, and he was like, I'm going to teach them how to make jewelry. Jewelry is a big thing, especially like turquoise and silver in the Native American community. So he said his little granddaughters were working on the jewelry, and then after they were done, he was like, I'll give you $20 for it. And his granddaughter was like, no. She's like, I worked so hard on that. And that's just like the perfect life lesson for kids, you know, like they just have a good way of looking at things and viewing things. So he taught the little girl the value of your work. You know, a lot of people, they're like, oh, well, this only cost you so much to make, but you know, your time is valuable as well. And that's exactly what her response was, which was the cutest thing. But yes, hoop dancing is something that they do at powwows. If you're anywhere near a powwow and you are a hula hooper, I would definitely recommend just to go check it out and see. They have a different rhythm. It's more of like a rhythm and pulse dance with the hula hoops, but all of the dances in the Native American community have a meaning. There's one, it's the chicken dance, and he said that they'll like ruffle their feathers in front of the pretty ladies like the chickens do, and just, you know, like really like full circle stories. Really, really cool stuff. If you have any Native American friends or neighbors, they're just some of the wisest people. But yes, he's 95. He still dances. He also like would do it in front of his grandchildren at the powwow, and it's just like something to be proud of, and something to give you some meaning. So I just thought it was really cool. He tells me all of the coolest stories. But like, you know, for instance, just like say you do hula hoop or you work out, like instead of like after a bad day sitting there sulking trying to like self-medicate, get up and like hula hoop, get that bad energy out, or go work out, you know, whatever it is that you do to relieve stress. There's productive ways to reduce stress. There's also productive ways, if you do have like an addictive personality, you can get addicted to something healthy. That's really the best alternative that I know in relation to addiction. Rehab, the percentage of success is very, very little. Very, really not worth the money, and most people or have the leisure to leave work for 30 days. So I do not like the setup. It is something that we have struggled with in my family, and we have more means than a lot of people, and it was very difficult for us to afford a rehab. Once they were there, our family member, it's very discouraging to go in and hear that there's a 10% success rate. And he wasn't successful, like the 90%. So the best thing that I can say when it comes to addiction is to get addicted to something positive, whether it's working out. I actually used to smoke cigarettes, and I just couldn't break the habit. It was like, what am I going to do if I don't have a cigarette in the car? Well, you'll be fine. You know, but that's just not how the brain works. The brain tricks you. Well, I actually quit smoking cigarettes and I started hula hooping. So anytime I would get like this tick to go smoke a cigarette, I would just grab my hula hoop instead, and I changed my bad addiction for a positive addiction. So just always keep that in mind. You know, nobody's going to be perfect. Addiction is a vicious cycle. So hopefully we can find some healthy alternatives, maybe some voluntary rehabs where you can go when you're having a hard time and not feel like you're locked away for 30 days. Like, that's even scary for a non-addict to hear. So an addict definitely doesn't want to hear that. And then you just throw them back out into the real world, like, good luck, you know, like it's a hard scale to balance. And then if you have a family member that is an addict, you want to be supportive, you want to be a good family member, but then you also don't want to enable them. So, like I said, it's a balancing act. Hopefully we'll find a better solution to the problem. Getting big pharma out of everyone's everyday lives would be a good start. The fentanyl needs to be cleaned up. The only good thing I can say about fentanyl is it got a lot of people to stop using some street drugs because of a bad experience. People are scared to do anything like that's powdered or, you know, that's not from a pharmacy. Not that pharmacies are any better. Just a legal drug dealer, in my opinion. But we need to focus on like preventative, like how to make ourselves healthy, natural remedies. Maybe using microdosing of mushrooms to help with depression. Or like maybe they should have had weed legal before alcohol. Alcohol has ruined lives, has killed many people, and weed just doesn't do that. So like I never understood why weed was illegal. It's like, that's just crazy. But we need to focus on just better habits, like the Ozempic, Monjaro, all that stuff that everyone's doing to lose weight. Before it got popular, they were giving people it after they got diabetes. Well, once you get diabetes, it's pretty much set in stone after that. So why not give it to them before they get diabetes? Let them know the risk, and we're all adults here. Let us make our own decisions. We can decide risk and reward. So instead of giving these people the medicine after they have diabetes, give it to them before. Let them lose the weight and not develop diabetes. That's what medicine should be. It shouldn't be masking an ailment, or, you know, we want to prevent it or we want to treat it. So that's just my perspective. Like, for instance, I went to school for diet and nutrition, and that's something that's so underutilized in the medical field and just in health in general. And I know it's not the doctor's specialty, but that's the best solution to heart disease, to diabetes, to a lot of things. And so many people just don't have the resources or the education to know the differences. So we want to try to prevent ourselves from getting sick. That would be, you know, first and foremost. And then treating an ailment, not just masking a symptom, if that makes sense. My best friend has struggled with her weight, and she got on the Ozempic, and it's changed her life. You know, it's like we want things that are gonna make us better, not make us sicker. So it's just, you know, food for thought. Always, if you have something going on, if it's with your skin, with your health, with anything, always look up dietary changes that can help, because you wouldn't believe it, but if someone's serious and motivated enough, diet can totally reverse something that's going on in your body or fix it. So like, that's the kind of treatment that we need. What nutrition does, it nourishes, it brings you back to health. So always remember what you're putting in your body is important when it comes to food, even liquids, you know, Coke and all that stuff is not ideal for your body. Being an adult, I do like Dr. Pepper, so I know Diet Dr. Pepper has aspartame in it, which can be cancer causing in large amounts. But that's a risk that I'm willing to take. Like, let us be adults. We don't have to like hear half truths or just tell us what you want us to hear so you can make the sale. Like, we want good, honest products. Like, is that too much to ask for? Like, and other people should hold the companies accountable for that, you know? Like, if you make a medicine and you have every good intention for it to work, okay, yes, and it doesn't work, and then you're in charge of the studies, well, of course you're gonna say, oh, this thing, oh, of course it works. Yes, it works. They are just starting to do now a placebo group with pharmaceutical testing, which in science, that is the golden rule. That is the standard to prove that your hypothesis is correct. So I'm sure Big Pharma was having a lot of fun with that, not having a placebo group to question the integrity of their product. So like I said, just something to consider. Well, we're getting just a little accident on the road, so I'm gonna have to find an alternative route. Sorry, guys.